Make that an easy story to tell. 2, coach every homeowner to consider a move or to refinance. Another case that is easy to be made today in today's lending environment. 3, conduct a home physical for every boomer you know to help them get ready to pull the trigger. A few projects each year spreads out the cost and it eases the financial and emotional hardships. This is not a waste of time now because while they might not be ready to sell for a few years, guess what? They know someone who's ready to move now. 4, hold as many open houses as you can and stand out like that penguin in the crowd. Open houses are an easy place to stand out in the sea of sameness. 5, reach out to every homeowner that you come in contact with. Why? Because their realtor is forgetting them. In order to be a realtor for life, you need to be in their home ownership world and be their coach. Before they repair, they need to call you. Before they remodel, they need to call you. Before they refinance, they need to call you. Before they renew their insurance each year, they need to call you. They should know what their neighborhood is doing at least every quarter at a minimum. Wait, they should call you. No, you should be calling them. They don't know to call you for these homeownership tests. They only think of calling you when it's time to buy or sell. As we close out 2020, the year of years, we have holiday seasons that will present opportunities with our families and friends. They have us pigeonholed to where we live and work. So they need to know that we can serve them and their friends no matter where they're buying and selling in 550 markets and 70 countries around this world. Your cousin working in Austin, Texas can help you grow your business, and you can help him be a hero. Folks, momentum is what we have. Interest rates are the best ever. We have 6 straight years of appreciation of home values. What a playground this is to be in. We just have to put in the time and the energy doing those things that keep us front and center in the minds of every homeowner we know. The clock is running. The momentum we take into this last quarter will carry us well into 2021. Now that is exciting.
Hello, everybody. You know, I've always thought our agents were the best in the business, but I love having tools that prove that to our clients. Earlier this year, we released Buy Side, a way for us to show home sellers in real time how many buyers are actively looking for a home just like theirs. Did you know, since the beginning of this year alone, with all 3 of our companies combined, that over 50,000 visitors used our home valuation tool to find out what their home or their neighbor's home was worth? This tool has resulted in us winning nearly 3,000 listings, 1,600 of which have closed. I'm thrilled with these results and can't wait to watch these numbers go up as the year continues.
Hey everybody, this year has been extraordinary in more ways than any of us could have imagined. The routine way of doing business, or what was normal and customary, shifted. No more in-person consultations, no more in-person showings or open houses. However, instead of falling behind, we have sprung forward. To meet the new challenges, our training and education team pivoted almost overnight to provide a complete portfolio of new learning opportunities. Did you know that between our companies, we have provided over 650 in-person and virtual trainings in 2020? The markets we serve are the strongest that they've ever been. And I'm thrilled to say that our sales associates have tackled those obstacles that were in front of them with the newfound confidence and, for some, a new skill set. Let's keep the momentum going for the rest of the year and into 2021.
Hello, everybody. As we all know, it's pretty easy to brag about the company that we work for. Everyone knows our signs, and each of our company names are deeply rooted in our communities. However, sometimes our brand dominance isn't enough to capture a prospective client. Hannah Presentations, or Moxie Presents, has been a critical tool over the years in proving to both buyers and sellers that we are the best choice and the company they can trust during the biggest transaction of their lives. Did you know that over 5,600 agents have created a combined 41,000 Hannah Presentations in 2020? That's a lot of listing appointments. So congratulations and keep up the great work.
Okay, welcome back, and thanks, Pat, for that message. And let's definitely finish strong in the fourth quarter and make a maximum effort. So I just opened my chocolate hugs. Everybody out there, give yourself a hug. Each piece a piece of chocolate. We have things resolved and resolved to a new degree. Zoom has opened up, so if you go back in and you missed the beginning, you're still here for the exciting part, which is really our keynote speaker, Joe Rand, and hearing his message of delivering wow. So you're going to be here for Joe. Also, we're streaming live now on YouTube. So you also can get a link, and it's on YouTube, and we really are live out there throughout the universe on our Education's YouTube channel. So everybody have a hug. I'd give you one if you were there. I could use a couple here. Kate Lasore made it all work for us. So thanks, Kate. And we'll get back to the show here. So if you have been to our convention in the past, the Howard Hanna Convention, we have a tradition, or it's existed since 2017, of giving away a car. And, that's not something we do at a summit. We don't really have a raffle for a car. We don't give away a car. However, I was with our partner in that sense is a buddy of mine, Jim Brown from Classic Auto Group in Ohio. And I was with Jim the other day, and he was talking about the economy today and how the car industry is just booming right now, but they have a lack of supply as well. And I was talking about how housing our agents have just through this pandemic, our employees, everybody's worked so hard that we aren't having a convention, but we're having this live virtual Zoom today. So Jimmy called me, or I called him, I'm not sure, and said, hey, it sounds like your agents are working really hard. I know I have a shortage, but I've got a couple green cars. And he said, how about you raffle off a car at your event? So I'd like to show you, if you haven't been here before, if you're with Rand, you're with Tate, you're new to the company, you might miss this sort of excitement we've had at the convention. So we're going to show you a short video of the energy that comes around with this car giveaway. And then we're going to cut to my buddy Jim Brown at Classic Auto, and he's prepared to do a drawing from his showroom for a new car. So take it away. Devin, let's show us the video.
Make it look easy.
Good morning from the Classic Auto Group. My name is Jim Brown, standing on the Classic Cadillac showroom here. Hobie and everybody from Howard Hanna, I want to say thank you for inviting us to your sales convention again this year, virtual sales convention. You've all been very supportive. Many of you from Howard Hanna have been very supportive of Classic over the last few years, especially this year. In spite of COVID, it's been a good year for Classic, and I understand that in real estate, you've been equally as prosperous. Hobie called me last night. JB, the convention's coming up. It's around the corner. How would you like to be a part of it? I said, well, of course, Hobie. I mean, this has been kind of a part of our deal here for the last few years, and I can't wait. When is it? Hobie says it's tomorrow. Okay, Hobie. Anything else I should know? The car needs to be green, and not just any green, but Howard Hanna green. I've got two cars that are green, Hobie. I found this one in the back last night. It's an absolute sweetheart. Someone's going to be very lucky here today. What's next? Let's pull a name. How do I pull a name? Over here. This is a $45,000 car. I'm going to pay for the lease, the payments, the taxes. I'm not paying for your insurance. I'm not paying for your gas or your speeding tickets. That's on you. If you don't want the car, I'll give you some cash. I think we're going to give $7,000 in cash as an equivalent. But I think you're going to like this car. Cindy Durkin from Crossroads, Buffalo. Congratulations. This is your brand new car. Here we go. Is that green enough for you, Hobie? Cindy, enjoy the car.
Isn't that exciting? Cindy Durkin, congratulations on your new car. And I know all you've got to do is we'll get in touch with you from the education department. Jimmy and his crew will bring the car up to you in Buffalo from Cleveland, or you can take a drive down to Cleveland if you'd like, however you'd like to handle it. But congratulations, Cindy. And isn't that a great looking car, that green Jeep, just magnificent. And I'd be remiss. Thank you, Jim Brown, again for like the 4th year in a row or 5th year in a row from Classic Auto, giving away a great car for us as a gift and a great friend of the whole Hannah organization. So thank you, Jim. So with that, I think we're ready to move forward with our keynote. Is that correct? Everybody, we're getting ready. Joe Rand. And so I can't give Joe enough props just to give you his background, but Joe is not only become a great friend over the years, and obviously over the last year since we've put this partnership together with the Rand family and now Howard Hanna Rand in downstate New York. But Joe has been somebody that over the years I've gotten to know as one of the great minds of the real estate industry, a thought-provoking leader, one who always strives for innovation, but brings it back being a true real estate practitioner to that customer service and relates so much. He's one that involves technology coupled with how you communicate with that client and customer. So Joe is this morning going to be our keynote speaker and really drive away a message of delivering a wow. So with that, we go off to New York to our good friend, Joe Rand.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joe Rand. I'm the Chief Creative Officer of Howard Hanna Rand Realty. And on behalf of everybody at the Rand organization, I want to thank you for being so welcoming of us into the network and how excited we are to be part of the Howard Hanna family. And I want to say personally how grateful I am to be invited to speak at today's summit, to be part of this event today. So my thanks to Hobie and Helen and Annie and Hadi and Duffy and everybody in the Hanna family for making me feel so welcome and allow me to share some thoughts with you today. So what I want to talk about today was a concept that we've developed called client-oriented real estate, or CORE. The idea that we focus our business on the needs of our client, not on our own needs, and we focus on building our business by providing our clients with amazing service experiences. And as part of that, I want to start by just telling you a story about an amazing service experience that I experienced kind of secondhand in my life. And that was, I was at a wedding a couple of years ago for my cousin. He was getting married. And I found out at the wedding, the day of the wedding, I want you to understand this is the day of the wedding, this couple, both in their mid-20s. So the bride, with all of her bridal party, is up in the hotel, this very nice but older hotel in New York City, this classic hotel. And she goes to the room and they bring all the stuff because they're going to get changed later to get ready. This is the day of the wedding. They're going to get changed for the photos and the ceremony and the whole thing. So they take the wedding dress and they hang it on a hook and they get all the things unpacked and they get themselves all ready. Then at some point she's ready to put on the dress and somebody goes to reach for it on the hook, except it's not a hook. It was a sprinkler. And when they pulled the dress off the sprinkler went off, spraying dirty, disgusting water that had been in the pipes probably at that point for, I don't know, 50 years, 60 years, all over the dress. Now, this is a massive freak out moment. Anybody who's been in a wedding understands what this is, what was going on. So everybody's freaking out. The bride, who is an absolute rock star, keeps her head, calls her fiance, soon to be her husband later that day, and explains the situation. He's like, all right, we'll put on a pair of jeans and let's go get married. But she says, well, let's see what we can do. She takes the dress. She brings it down. It happened that she'd bought it at a bridal store in Manhattan, only a cab ride away. So she takes the dress, the whole party piles into cabs, they get all their stuff and they bring it down to the bridal party. They call on the way to say, the dress, there was an accident, it's been sprayed with dirty, black, inky water. We want to see if there's something you can do about it. They bring it in and they bring it to the guy and he says, listen, there's nothing we can do. I mean, we might be able to get it out eventually, but there's no way you can get married in this dress today. And her face falls. And you can imagine the feeling of this woman on her wedding day, the dress she picked out months ago, the dress she's been imagining herself getting married in, ruined. And the guy says to her, well, wait a second, isn't this the Vera Wang? And it was a Vera Wang dress. And it was a Vera Wang dress. And apparently what they have is they have different lines of wedding dresses. So there's like the A line, the B line, the C line. And she had like the B or the C line, which is a very expensive dress, but it wasn't the A line. It wasn't the most expensive dress. He said, that's the Vera Wang, right? She says, yeah. He says, we have that here. He had the A-line dress, $25,000 dress that he had on a mannequin in the store. He pulled it off the mannequin, said, try this on. They put it on her. It was too big. They brought a seamstress over and they literally sewed her into the dress. Like they didn't have time to alter it. It was like 11 o'clock. She was getting married at 1 o'clock. They sew her into the dress like a medieval knight getting sewn into his armor. So they put the dress on her, and the place was a hotbed of activity because the bridal party's all there. They don't have time to go back to the hotel. The hotel, there's still like water. It's all damp in the room. So in that bridal store, they all start getting ready. And there develops this esprit de corps in the whole place because there's all the brides to be that are there, and they're all trying on their dresses and they understand what's going on. So they're all helping, and people are doing each other's hair and getting the makeup done, doing all the other stuff that people have to do to get ready for their wedding. And she got that dress on, and she got married at 1 o'clock. She was on time for her wedding. The only thing that they had to change was they had to do the pictures after the wedding. So she missed a little bit of the cocktail party, but she made the wedding on time. And nobody knew. And she looked magnificent. The only reason I even know the story is that we're family. And so that night at the reception, she came and we're standing around and she tells us the story. And we're dumbfounded. And we're looking at her. She looks beautiful in this dress that she's been sewn into. And it's a $25,000 dress. And I realize I'm holding a glass of red wine that I very quickly put aside because I was not going to be the person that spilled red wine on the $25,000 borrowed dress. Why do I tell you that story? I tell you that story because that's a model of what we need to be in this industry. If we're going to fight off disruption, if we're going to differentiate ourselves, if we're going to justify our commission and our very place in the transaction, those are the kind of experiences we need to give our clients. The thing is, delivering great service is essential to being great in business, to building your business. I know that you've been to lots of sales conferences and things like that, and they'll talk about lead generation. It's all about like generating leads. It's all about, I get it. I know all that. And that's all true. But you know what? At the very end of the day, what are you selling? What you're selling is amazing experiences with working with you. You are your product, and you want your product to be awesome. And that's why we have to focus on providing these amazing experiences for our clients. And it's essential for a bunch of reasons. Number one, if you're great at your job, your deals close. They don't fall apart. You become great at holding your deals together, at keeping your clients engaged and not letting them freak out. If you're great at your job, you get more referral opportunities because your clients will be thrilled at working with you, and they'll want their friends to work with you as well. They won't be afraid to refer you because they know just how great you are. You'll have greater confidence because you know you're really great at your job, which means you're not afraid to ask for the business because you know you're going to provide a better experience than anybody else will to that client. And it becomes a marketing differentiator, you know, your ratings, your reviews, all that stuff. But you know what? The big differentiator becomes all the people that you can point to say, tell you what, here are my last 3 clients. Call any one of them. I'm not giving you a list of my 3 favorite clients who had the best experience with me. Here's the 3 most recent ones. They all had an amazing experience. They'll all tell you all about it. Becomes a marketing differentiator. Talk about how great you are. And if you're great at your job, you will have good metrics, like your listings will sell more than anybody else. They'll sell for closer to the asking price, all of that stuff. And lastly, the reason we want to be great at our jobs is that it's a more satisfying life. It's a better way to live your life. It's waking up every morning knowing you're making a difference to other people, that you're making them happy, that you're giving them the best of what you can do. That's a great way to wake up every morning. That's a great way to live your life. Now, of course, in real estate, we have some very specific challenges to providing great service. One of them is what I call the S word, the idea that we are in sales. Because people have this idea that when you're in sales, it's all about razzmatazz and tricking people and using scripts and dialogues to manipulate them and things like that. That's not what you do. That's not what you do on a day-to-day basis. What you do on a day-to-day basis is you provide services to people. Yes, you do sales when you're on a listing presentation. You do sales when you're negotiating. You do sales at certain times when you're working with clients. But most of the time when you work with clients, you're providing them a service. You're not trying to sell them. When you go out with a buyer, are you trying to get that buyer to buy that house or that house? No. You're there to guide them through the process, to show them the houses that are out there and help them make their decision. But you don't push it on them. You're not like you're working at a timeshare that you're trying to get them to buy the timeshare. You don't care what they buy. You just want to help them through the process and establish the kind of relationship that they'll buy with you. The other challenge we have is the independent contractor model that we have in this industry, which makes it sometimes very difficult for brokers to be able to establish guidelines for agents to follow, that we feel we have to be hands off because everybody's an independent contractor and they have to do it their own way. Well, yes, that's true in some cases, but when it comes to providing a great service experience, when it comes to providing happiness to our clients and being fair and being consistent, I think brokers can establish those standards and agents can establish those standards for themselves and then follow them. And then the other challenges we have is a lack of training, that we have lots of training in this industry about sales and just very little in this industry about how to provide great experiences for clients. Think about all the courses you've taken at conferences about sales techniques and scripts and neuro-linguistic programming and all that stuff, and how little training you've gotten in how do you actually raise the level of service you provide? How do you provide client service experiences? How many classes do we have on customer service at all in this industry? And finally, finally, it's the nature of the transaction. Our transactions are difficult. It's difficult to provide great service with so many moving parts, particularly because a lot of those moving parts are things that we don't have control over, like the mortgage and the title and stuff like that. And then finally, the most dispiriting part of this is that consumers sometimes don't reward it. Sometimes they're willing to work with their friend of a friend who doesn't really know anything, or their friend from the country club who sold one house last year. Or the person who happens to be at the open house when they walk in at the right time. We have in this industry whole lead generation systems that are built upon the idea that the client might not be that choosy. They might just take who's in front of them. What we want is we want choosy clients. We want clients who expect the best because that's what we're going to provide for them. So we want customers to reward it, and we want to differentiate ourselves. And that's changing because consumers are getting more savvy about the agent they work with. So that's becoming less of an issue. And if that happens, that's good for the best agents, because the best agents, the ones who provide great service experiences, they'll get more clients. So I want to talk to you about the concept of bringing the wow. And that's the idea of providing such an amazing service experience to your clients that they go, wow, that was pretty great. And what people think of when they think of great services, they think that it's all about attitude. They think it's all about enthusiasm. They think it's all about, it's all about effort. You have to really want to do a good job. And effort and attitude is definitely part of it. But a bigger part of it is actually having technique, is actually having the skills and the knowledge to provide a great service experience. Because you know what? If I'm going to get a surgery, my doctor, I want my doctor to be enthusiastic about doing a great job for me, but it's really important for me that the doctor actually knows what she's doing, that the doctor actually knows how to do the surgery. Same thing's true in our industry. It's not enough just to have the right attitude. It's not enough to be enthusiastic. What you need is you need to design systems that mechanically create great experiences and then opportunities for you to bring the wow. So let's talk about the different ways that you can do that. And we'll start with, you have to listen to what your clients are saying. What do I mean by that? Well, years ago, when I was first working in real estate and I first had, after years of being a law professor and a bunch of other things which didn't make me any money, I had money. And I needed to invest the money in some reasonable, smart fashion. So I decided I have to meet with a financial planner. So I went, set up an appointment, me and my wife, to go meet with a financial planner. We go to his office, we sit down with him, and I'm expecting to get like a PowerPoint or something that he's going to try to convince me to invest my money with him. He did none of that. He sat down, he had a pad of paper, and he started asking me questions. He started asking me, hey, Joe, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10? Joe, what do you know about financial instruments? How well do you know equities? How well do you know fixed income? What are your biggest concerns about your money? What are your biggest fears for the future? What are your biggest hopes? What if you had $10 million, what would you do with it? All these kinds of questions, and questions that honestly, I never even really asked myself. And then he goes to my wife, he started asking her questions, and she starts answering them. And she's saying things I've never heard her say, things I never knew about her. And this went on for, I don't know, about an hour that we're doing this, and he's asking us questions and we're talking, then he's following up with more questions. And as the hour went on, what I discovered was something very interesting. I started to trust him. I started to genuinely trust him and believe in him and feel good about him and be interested in working with him. not because of anything he said, but because he showed an authentic interest in me. And not only that, by asking me questions and getting me to communicate all of my inner thoughts and whatnot, he was building credibility. He was building rapport with me in the best way possible by asking me questions and letting me talk about myself. And the more I confessed to him about my fears and my dreams and everything else, the more I trusted him, almost in like a mental jiu-jitsu that, what am I telling him all this stuff unless I already trust him? I wouldn't tell somebody I don't trust about these kinds of things. So I must trust him, ergo, I have to invest my money with him, which I did. And he's my financial planner to this day. Why? Because he didn't make that meeting, that initial meeting, a presentation. He didn't make it about him talking and me listening. He made it about me talking and him listening. And as I walked out of that meeting with him, I thought to myself, why don't we do more of that in real estate? Why in real estate are our listing presentations built around this idea that agents do a presentation, that it's a song and a dance, that it's you go in and you have scripts that you have rehearsed and you do a performance and you have to practice it and all that kind of stuff. It's so hard. Performance is hard. You know, doing a staged rehearsed script is hard. You know what's much easier? You go in and you ask questions and you show an authentic interest in the answers and you express your sincere hopes of trying to solve that person's problem and figuring out how you can help them. That's how you build rapport with somebody. Not by doing a song and dance for them, not by trying to mirror their gestures and all that kind of stuff. Not by, you see a picture of a sailboat and you say, oh, I like sailing too. No, you establish rapport with somebody by showing an interest in them, by asking them questions about themselves, by getting them to talk about themselves. Talk less, listen more. And that's a lesson for everything that we do. We talk too much in this industry. We got to listen more to what our clients are telling us, because the first step in providing a great service experience for our clients is listen to what they are saying. Listen to what they're telling us and listen for what they're not telling us. Because sometimes what they're not telling us is as important as what they're telling us. Let me give you some examples of like great service experiences that came from people listening. I heard this story. Will Gadar is a restaurateur in Manhattan. He told the story at a conference I was at recently. I asked him about it afterwards. And he said that he works at a very, very high-end, fine restaurant. And he always walks the floor and he listens. And he'll go and he'll refill the water very casually and not like, but he's listening to what they're saying. He wants to hear what kind of experience they're having. He wants to know, is there something he can do for them? And he goes to this one table. And it became clear from the conversation that it was a group of people who had come from out of town to go on a restaurant tour of Manhattan. They'd been there all week and they'd done breakfast, lunch, dinner at different restaurants every day. And this was their last meal. They'd saved it for last. And as they're talking, one of them says, yeah, we pretty much had every meal in Manhattan except, a dirty water hot dog. The kinds of dirty water hot dogs that you can get on the street corner in Manhattan. They're terrible. I mean, they're called dirty water hot dogs. They're literally made with the water from the wedding dress thing that I told you about before. They're awful, but they're authentically New York and they're an interesting experience. So they were talking sort of like wistfully about the fact that they never got their dirty water hot dog. So he listens and he hears, and he goes back to the kitchen. He sends somebody downstairs to a stand to go buy a couple of hot dogs. And they come up and he takes the hot dogs and he puts them on a plate and he kind of elevates them a little bit, so they're not quite dirty water. They're still recognizable as dirty water hot dogs, but they're more, fine cuisine. And he brings it to the table. And the people are like blown away that he listened to them, that he went above and beyond to go get something for them that would give them this experience. It was delightful. What a surprise for them, because he listened. He listened. We all have to listen. I have a friend who's a broker who learned that lesson many years ago when he was thinking of downsizing an office. And in order to do it, he was going to have to go to the agents and get them to give up desks that they had. And he went to them and he said, well, you'll give up your desk, but here's what you get if you give up the desk. And he thought that like a certain percentage of them would give up the desk. And he was giving them like a little bit of a bump and split. And they all took the split instead of the desk. And he had thought that they all wanted these desks. And it turns out they didn't really want the desks. That he listened to them by giving them the option, he was listening to them, but he realized that he hadn't really been paying attention to their needs as their needs changed, as the business became more virtual, more you're out on the road, you're doing things with clients. And I'll tell you a story that I had experienced back when I was working as an agent. I worked as an agent. My family's had this company for almost 40 years, and I got my license when I was 18. And I pretty much every summer worked as an agent for 3 months, tried to generate some leads that I could refer out, or maybe even do one deal. And if I did one deal, that was like beer money for the year. And I had this one client, and she had this very weird restriction when she wanted to know about houses, that there couldn't be any stairs, like no stairs, which in my market is very unusual. Most houses are 2 flights, 2-story houses, no stairs. So I'm like racking the MLS trying to find, houses on one level, all capes. Like I'm showing her cape after cape, and she hates all the capes that I keep showing her. So finally we're talking afterwards, and I'm not like saying to her, "What? Are we sure I can't show you a house with some stairs?" I don't say that, but I'm sort of trying to figure out what it is about the stairs. And what I eventually figure out was that she had an elderly mother who was not living with her, but her plan was within the next couple of years, the mother was going to come live with her. And the mother had trouble with stairs and couldn't climb the stairs. And so she didn't want to buy a house that then her mother would not be able to live with her in. So now I knew, all right, well, it doesn't have to not have stairs. It just has to have a place where the mother-in-law or the mother could have a bedroom on the main level and not have to go up and down stairs to get in and out. Or maybe a house with an elevator if that was available back then. And eventually I found something. And because I listened, and I listened not just to what she was telling me, but what she wasn't telling me. And that's what we have to do. We have to be open. Our ears have to be open. We have to be receptive to what our clients are telling us. Someone once asked me when I was speaking, they said, "What's the difference between marketing and sales?" And I thought about it for a second. I said, here's the difference. The difference is that marketing is the story you tell about yourself. Sales is about finding out their story. When you're in sales, it's not about talking. It's not about you, blah. Sales is about finding out what they need, find out what they need, and then figure out how you're going to give it to them. That's what sales is. And that's why it's different from marketing. Second, once you've listened to what they need, you have to think expansively about it. Listen and then think broadly. Don't just limit yourself. Oh, whenever I talk about this, agents tell me, well, they need to buy a house. Yes, they need to buy a house, but every buyer is different. Every buyer has different needs. Well, they need to sell a house. Well, every seller is different. Every seller has different concerns, cares, fears, hopes for what they're going through in this process. You have to listen to what they're saying, and then you have to think expansively. What do they need? What do they need? Well, let me tell you this story to give you to illustrate how important it is to think expansively about what people need. And it's about the history of the rental industry, the movie rental industry. Now, some of you young people, you millennials, you don't realize that like movies, it's different now than it used to be. Now, any movie you want, you just press a button, it streams to you anytime you want. You go back 30 years, that's not the way it was. It wasn't the way when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you saw a movie, it was in the theaters. And then when it was out of the theaters, you never saw it again. Maybe like once in a while, Sunday night at the movies, there'd be a movie on TV, and it was always a big event. Hey, a movie on my TV. But it wasn't like, it was it. You saw Jaws, it was in the theater for like a year and a half. And then when it came out of the theaters, you never saw it again. You can't even imagine a situation like that. Well, that changed in the late 70s with the invention of the VCR. And it changed with the idea that, well, now you can watch movies at home. But here was the thing. The movie studios were very suspicious of VCRs. They were very suspicious about the idea that people might watch movies at home and then they wouldn't go to the theater anymore. And then that would cannibalize the theater sales, which of course it eventually did. And the movie studios had such a strong relationship with the movie theaters that they didn't want to do that. So what they did was they took all the movies that you could buy. You could buy a movie to play it at home, a VHS tape, play it at home. But they priced them at like $300. In 1977, it'd be like $1,000 today. You imagine spending $1,000 to watch a movie. But that's what they did. George Atkinson discovered this idea of what if I bought all the movies and then rented them out for a couple of days and you bring them back. So I buy them for $300. I rent them out for you for $10 for 2 days. You bring them back, rent them out another 2 days, 10 more bucks, eventually make a lot of money. He started something called the Video Station, a little video rental store in California, in Los Angeles. First of its kind, as far as anybody can tell. And from there, he started a whole industry. He created a whole industry because he thought expansively about what people need. People want to watch movies at home, but they can't afford $1,000 for a movie. So maybe they'll rent it for $10. He started the movie rental. It was a club. You pay money to join the club, and then you pay every time you have a rental. And from his inspiration came a whole industry. By the early 80s, those of you that can remember, there was a video shop in every block, in every main street in the country had a little mom and pop video store, you know, maybe a couple hundred square feet. It'd have maybe 500 videotapes or something like that. And you would go there, you'd rent movies. You'd get a little card. You'd have a little card for your membership and whatnot. So he created that. But there were problems with the little mom and pop video stores. The mom and pop video stores were fine, but you know what? They didn't have much of a selection. Like if you wanted to go see the first run movie, the movie that just came out on VHS, you had to be there like early because they would have 3 copies and they'd sell out by noon on Friday. So along came Blockbuster. Now, we all remember now Blockbuster as an abject lesson in failure, as almost like a case study, a model for like what not to do. But in its time, Blockbuster was this huge success story. It went from nothing to being a $9 billion company in 1994 dollars. A $9 billion company is what it sold for. Why? It recognized that needs had changed, that people didn't want to just rent video VHS tapes. They wanted the first run VHS tapes. They created a better experience, the experience of a big store with full shelves and well lit, and you could buy popcorn and all the other stuff. Blockbuster was so successful, they owned Friday night. The phrase, make it a Blockbuster night. That's what Friday night was. You'd go in, you'd rent the movie, and you'd keep it for the weekend. But Blockbuster had a flaw in its business model that drove people crazy. And you all know, if you lived through it, you know what the flaw was. The flaw was late fees, rewind fees. People who are millennials don't even know what rewinding is, but you had to rewind the tape at the end. If you didn't, they charge you like $3. And if you didn't bring the movie back on Monday morning, they charge you another $5 a day. And you never remember to bring the movie back on Monday morning. You rent the movie on Friday, you watch it on Saturday, you come home on Monday from work and you look up and it's still sitting on the VCR. So you take it, you put it in its white case, you put it back, you rewind it, you put it in the white case, you put it on the car, you put it on the seat, you go to work, come home, it's still there. Go next day, Wednesday, drive to work, come home, it's still there. You don't bring it back for like a week, and it ends up costing you like $50 to watch Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever. People hated that. They hated the late fees. So what happened? Somebody came along to service the changing needs of clients. And that person was Netflix, Reed Hastings. Legend has it that he rented a movie from Blockbuster and he had $40 of late fees, and then he founded Netflix. It's like an apocryphal story. I don't think it actually happened that way. But Netflix, who millennials know what Netflix is, but they think of it as a streaming technology. Back then, it was a DVD rental technology. They said, well, you hate late fees. Here's what we're going to do. You get a club membership, and you, at any given time, you can have 3 movies, 3 DVDs. I don't have time to explain what a DVD is to the millennials. I know you've never seen a DVD, but a DVD was a little thin thing. You put it in an envelope, you send it in the mail, you go back to Netflix, and they send you a new movie. So you get one movie, you watch it, you send it back, you get another movie. You always have 3 movies at home, no late fees, just a monthly subscription fee. They destroyed Blockbuster, absolutely destroyed them, drove them out of business because they recognized that the needs had changed of the clients, and they built a technology, they built a whole system around what customers actually needed. And then Netflix, an amazing company, kept pivoting. They kept changing. When they realized that streaming was coming along and it would render their DVD business irrelevant, they became the biggest streaming company. And when they realized that streaming wasn't enough, you needed to have content, they started creating content. And now people have Netflix subscriptions, not to watch movies, they have it to watch Peaky Blinders or Orange is the New Black or any of the original programming that Netflix has. Because Netflix keeps focusing on what their clients need and keeps delivering on that. Thinking expansively, what do they need now that's different from yesterday? And that's why they're successful. And that's what all of them really did. That's what George Atkinson did. Think expansively about what people need. They need to be able to rent movies at home. Blockbuster thought expansively. They need bigger stores with more selection. And then Netflix thought expansively, saying, well, what they really need is they need to have a system which doesn't drive them crazy with late fees, and then they need streaming, and then they need content. That's what we all need to do. That's what we need to do with all our clients in every situation. Look for needs that are not being met. I put Zillow's logo up there. Why? Because Zillow built a whole business around the fact that we weren't meeting the needs of our clients. We offered them free CMAs, but really it was a come on for them to come in and do a listing presentation. We weren't really interested in giving them a valuation for their home. There was a need that we knew clients had. They want to know how much their home was worth, and we weren't willing to tell them unless they sat through a listing presentation. Zillow serviced the need, built a billions and billions dollar company out of servicing that need. 2, think creatively about how to meet those needs. Think about the way Amazon has changed, completely changed retail by constantly recreating the retail experience, about thinking, what do clients need? They need reviews of products so they can vet the good products from the bad. What else do they need? Well, they need next day delivery or second day delivery. Amazon's been an amazing story in being responsive to what clients need and think expansively about it. And then you have to adapt as needs change. And I put Kodak up there because Kodak's obviously the model lesson in not adapting, that they had the technology to do digital photography that could have been their transition from film. And they didn't do it because they were so wedded to film that they wouldn't change. And because they wouldn't change, they were basically rendered irrelevant. We don't want that to happen to us. We have to think expansively about needs, look for needs that are not being met, think creatively about how to meet them, and then adapt as needs change. Number 3, build systems that deliver consistently great experiences. Let me tell you a quick story. I put a book up here that you can see, the book called The Disney Way by a guy named Bill Capodie and a woman named Lynn Jackson. Bill Capodie writes the book. It's all about how Disney's approach to operational excellence, which is all about attention to detail and things like that. So he writes this book, and he's at a conference one day, and he's sitting by the pool after speaking, and a gentleman comes up to him to say, "You're Bill Capodie?" He says, "Yes." He says, the guy says, my name's John, and I have a factory in the Midwest, and we read your book and it changed our business completely. And Bill's like, "Oh, tell me about it." And John says, "Well, I read the book and then I gave it to all my top managers, and then we formed a task force and we got it to everybody on the line, and we formed a whole committee, and we created a whole movement and initiative, and we came up with a slogan, and we put it on t-shirts and hats and posters and everything else, all built around the Disney way." And Bill says, "Really, tell me, what was the slogan?" And the guy says, "Our slogan is, we clean the windows as soon as they get dirty. We clean the windows as soon as they get dirty." Because the idea is, when there's a problem, fix it. Don't let it fester. If you have a manufacturing plant, right? There's a problem on the line. Don't let it, become someone else's problem. You fix it. All right, that's the idea. Now, I'll be honest with you. Between me and you, if all of us took the mantra that we're going to clean the windows as soon as they get dirty and not let them get even dirtier, it's not bad. But as he explains this motto, this slogan to Bill Capodie, Bill says, "I got to tell you, thanks for buying the book, and I'm glad it made such a difference for you, but you missed the point of the Disney way completely." And the Midwestern guy is like, "Oh my, really? I've read the book like 100 times. How did I miss it?" And Bill Capodie says that the slogan, "We clean the windows as soon as they get dirty," that's not the way Disney operates. At Disney, the windows never get dirty. The windows never get dirty. The idea is that you create systems, you put them in place that eliminate the possibility of problems, that don't let problems come up. Not that you fix the problem when it happens. Yes, you fix the problem when it happens, but your goal is not to fix the problem when it happens. Your goal is to keep the problem from happening in the first place. Create systems that prevent it from happening. I put a picture of David Lee Roth up there. The reason I have David Lee Roth up there is that Van Halen was famous for this rider they put in their contract, which said no brown M&Ms in their rider, that you couldn't have brown M&Ms in the green room. Why? Not because they were a bunch of divas, but because that was their way of testing the promoter, that the promoter paid attention to detail, that they could walk into that green room, and if they saw brown M&Ms, they knew that that promoter didn't pay attention to their rider, and their rider had a bunch of stuff in it about load-bearing walls and like electrical specifications, things that if they were not paid attention to would be dangerous to the band and its fans. So they said, we're going to put in this rider so we can walk in and immediately know, is that promoter doing his job or not? That is a bright line. Keep the windows from getting dirty. Starbucks has a program like that. They call it the sweep. The idea is that at regular intervals, the Starbucks people are supposed to go to the area where you get the cream and the sugar back when we would all do that. You get the cream and the sugar and the stuff, and they clean it and they fill everything up because you're never supposed to grab a canister and it's empty. They'll replenish the canisters at half full. That's what you need to do. Put in these prophylactic rules that keep the windows from getting dirty. I put flowers up there. Why? Because I buy flowers for my wife every Friday, even if I didn't do anything wrong. Why? Because it creates a nice vibe for us on the weekends. You know, if I buy flowers only when I do something wrong, flowers become associated with me screwing up. I get flowers all the time, keeps everything happy. And then I also put up something you can see called it's a transaction guide. We're big on checklists at my company. We have checklists for everything. Why? Because you follow a checklist, it keeps your attention to detail. It keeps the windows from ever getting dirty. And that's what we have to do. We have to keep the windows. We have to create those standards that create a bedrock of great service. Then number 4, create magic tricks that surprise or delight. Once you've established these prophylactic rules that provide bedrock service that keep the windows from getting dirty, start getting creative. Start looking for opportunities to do the magic tricks, the things that are going to delight people because they surprise them. Why do I have a picture of an iPhone there? Because about 10 years ago, I was with a group of people at a conference, at a real estate conference, and somebody had just gotten the new iPhone like a week after it came out, which had Siri. And none of us had ever experienced Siri or anything like it before. Now, it's mostly an annoyance. Like when I hit Siri, it's almost always an accident, then it's speaking at me. I don't want it to speak at me. But back then, it was this amazing novel thing. So we spent like an hour with the guy in the back of a bus while we were going to a dinner, asking Siri dumb questions. We started with like regular questions and then Siri would answer. And then we started to get dumber and dumber. You know, Siri, do you love me? Siri, what's the meaning of life? You know, Siri, will I meet, predictions, things like that. And every time Siri had like a clever answer and it was delightful. We had so much fun with it. Why? Because at some point, the Apple engineers creating Siri and creating, writing the scripts and all those things they said, people are going to ask Siri stupid questions. So let's come up with really funny answers for the stupid questions. And they created that whole model. Now you have Alexa, you ask Alexa to sing, Alexa sings a song. Google Assistant does the same thing, but Siri was the first to do that kind of stuff. And it was great. It was delightful. It was a magic trick, right? Just because they thought, hey, let's try to give clients something fun here. That's what I think of as a magic trick. What's another magic trick? I went to the Four Seasons years ago. I check in, it was like 10 o'clock at night. I go to bed, I wake up, I go to breakfast with my wife. We walk into the breakfast room and the person at the front says, oh, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Rand, welcome. How did she know my name? Well, I've since discovered that the Four Seasons really emphasizes this. Like they put bonuses based on this. Like you are supposed to know the names of the guests at the hotel. And they'll give you like, they'll Google you and find your pictures on Facebook and put them up. And they're sort of in the backstage areas of the hotel. Here's all the guests, here's their names, so they can recognize you by sight. But it's a skill that they develop. It's something they teach that's important. They value it. And so people do it, and it's delightful. It's amazing. It's a magic trick. It's what I call the deliberate wow. It's something that you put it in place, and it mechanically engineers this wow factor. Because when she asked me, she said, "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Rand," I went, "Wow." It was cool. Now, it didn't change my life. It wasn't like the most amazing experience ever, but it was a cute little trick, and it was done because the people put in place procedures that would generate that wow. Mechanically. That's the point. You can design these things. You can make them. It's not about, oh, I really want to do a great job. It's all about enthusiasm. No, it's about thinking creatively about what your clients need and then giving them that and creating systems that generate it, both as a windows never get dirty way, but also as, cool things that make them happy. Another one, the surprise wow, the Gramercy Tavern. If you make an appointment at the Gramercy, a reservation at the Gramercy Tavern, they ask you, is it a special occasion? It's just a check off their list. Like when someone makes a reservation, you ask, or is it for a special occasion? And that's fine. But you know what happens sometimes? I make a reservation today. Why is my making a reservation? I make it for November. Why November? Well, it's our anniversary. So I make it. They say, is there a special occasion? Oh yeah, it's our anniversary. 3 months later, I go to the restaurant. I come in. I say, oh, Rand party of 2, 8 o'clock. And they say, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Rand, happy anniversary. Wow. How did they know it was my anniversary? How did they know? Like, it could be kind of creepy if it was in the wrong situation, but like, the idea is you feel flattered. How did they know that? And then you remember they asked you the question. It's such a neat trick. Oh, I know how they did it. But it's the delightful. It's the rabbit out of a hat. How did they do that? It's cool to find out, to figure it out. The surprise wow was a surprise. And surprises are always really good if they're good surprises. And then the anticipatory wow. I was talking to a gentleman at the Ritz-Carlton not long ago. Who runs they do an executive service training program. And he was telling a story about one of the things that they did. And it was kind of cool. It was the idea that they used to have they had this property with a rooftop bar, a roof like a pool bar and a pool area, and it would get really hot. And they noticed that at around noontime, they started to get lots of requests for people that wanted water, just to get a glass of water. And so what they did was every day at 11:45, they would have somebody make up like a pitcher of ice water with some cucumber slices in it. Because, just ice water in a pitcher that's not fancy. Put some cucumber in it, now it's fancy. And at 11:45, they start walking around with the cucumber water. And everyone's like, oh, I was just thinking I could use, that's perfect, thank you. Why? Because they knew from experience that people start to get thirsty around noon at poolside. So they do the cucumber water, and while they're doing it, they hand out the menus. Oh, if you'd like something to eat, you have all this stuff. But the idea is, it's a little wow, but it's a good wow. It's a wow that like, oh, they anticipated my needs before I even knew I had them. Number 5, look for opportunities to go above and beyond. If you are providing that bedrock service, and if you create systems that create these magic tricks, what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself in situations where opportunities present themselves to do something amazing for a client. I'll give you an example from outside real estate. That exploding champagne that you're seeing on the screen. The exploding champagne is from a story of the Union Square Cafe. And a couple came in to have dinner, and they sat down, and they call over the wine steward, and they said, listen, I just had a question for you. It's our anniversary tonight, and we bought a really expensive bottle of champagne, and I forgot to chill it. So when we left to go to dinner, I put it in the freezer thinking it would chill it more quickly. And now I'm thinking to myself, maybe that was a mistake. And the wine steward says, yeah, that was a terrible mistake. You should never do that. He says, oh, and now, dinner's ruined. They just ordered. What is he going to do? He's going to go back uptown. And the steward says, hold on, let me get the manager. Manager comes over, says, he explained the situation to me. Listen, we don't want you to interrupt your dinner. If you're okay with it, if you give us the keys, we'll send somebody to your place and we'll take the champagne out of the freezer. Guy looks at his wife, says, if you guys want to do that, it's fine by me. They give him the keys. But half an hour later, guy comes back, manager comes back, here's your keys. Everything's fine. The champagne was fine. They enjoy their dinner. They go home. They come home. They open up the fridge. They're ready to celebrate. And not just the champagne. There's a note from the manager saying, thank you for celebrating with us at the Union Square Cafe. There's a little box of chocolates. There's like something else there. That's a wow. Why? Because the person looked for the opportunity to go above and beyond. And then there's the story of Joshie. Joshie's the little stuffed animal that you see there on the screen. Joshie was this child's, this like 4-year-old's favorite stuffed animal. If you have kids, you know how important that stuffed animal is, that you should have like 10 of them, 9 of them locked in the basement. So when you lose one, you just pull one out of the basement. They didn't do that. They only had the one Joshie. So when Joshie got left behind at I think it was a Ritz-Carlton in the Carolinas, they get home, they realize no Joshie. They were there for the weekend. They come home, no Joshie. Kids freaking out. They call up the hotel. They say, listen, is there any chance someone found a stuffed animal, a little brown, I think it's a giraffe, in our room? They get a call back a little while later. We found Joshie. Oh, thank God, they found Joshie. And the guy says, please, could you send it back next day air? I'll pay for it. The manager says, we're already doing that. Please, it's our pleasure to do it. We'll take care of it. Next day, package comes. There's Joshie. Joshie's back. But there was something else in that package. Because when they called up to say, could we get Joshie back, when they knew they had found him, they explained to the manager of the hotel that they had told the kid that Joshie had stayed behind for his own little vacation. He'd stuck around at the Ritz-Carlton. So when Joshie came back, the manager had arranged for this, for them to get pictures taken of Joshie doing stuff at the hotel. He's getting a tan. He's playing with other stuffed animals. He's riding a golf cart. He's getting a little massage. He's hanging out with the security crew. I mean, wow. Wow. How cool is that? How great is that? Not just that they found the bear. That was awesome. But they took the opportunity to create the delight that they knew the kid would have when he saw the pictures of Joshy having fun. Finally, you got to treat mistakes as opportunities. You got to treat something goes wrong. That is the best time for you to create a great experience. Because you know what? When I ask people, audiences like you, but when I'm actually with them, when I ask them to tell me about great service experiences, 90% of the time, it's the story of a recovery. It's the story of something that went wrong and then it got put right. And that's what was memorable, is that you went from the lows to the highs. That's what was great about the story. So I'll tell you two stories like that. One quick one, United Airlines. Guy was going to see his dying mother. And he had to make a connecting flight, and his first flight was delayed. And he was going to miss the connecting flight. And he starts crying. In his seat, in the plane, he's crying. Flight attendant comes over and says, "Is everything okay? Can I do something?" He explains to her what's going on, that they were late and he had to make a tight connection. So the flight attendant calls down. He gets off the plane. They have a thing for him right there. They say, "We got to get you to gate 18 right away." They get him to gate 18. They'd held the plane for him. They held the plane knowing what was going on. They held the plane for him. Think he remembers that? And I'll tell you a story from my own experience. We had a listing, like listings you have. And in that listing, there was a woman who had a treasured Lladró collection. If you've never had a client with a treasured Lladró collection, you know how much people treasure their Lladró. It's little porcelain figurines from Spain. And she had a collection in a glass cabinet. And the agent told them, you should probably take the Lladró and store them, like as a staging matter, but also as a safety matter. They didn't listen. They didn't want to put their Lladró away. So a month or two into the listing, one of the Lladró turns up broken. And the owner is apoplectic and angry at us, saying that it's our fault, that we didn't supervise showings, and that's why the Lladró was broken. Now, it turns out, we found out that on Sunday, like 2 days before she discovered it broken, she'd had a big party with a bunch of her grandkids and stuff in the house. That's when the Lladró was broken. Because you know, as well as I do, someone's going and showing a house, they're not opening up the cabinets and picking up the Lladró. But there was no satisfying her. And I get it, she was upset. So I'm talking to the agent about it. I'm like, tell me about this client. What can we do here? And the agent explains to me that this client was listing with her, buying with her, had referred her daughter with her, who was listing with her and buying with her. I said to her, so there's 4 sides that basically depend on the happiness of this client. She said, yeah. I said, and how much is the Lladró? She says, $1,500. I said, let's go buy her a Lladró. So she had wanted us to give her the $1,500. We did one better than that. We didn't just give her the $1,500 to buy the Lladró. We found the exact Lladró that had been broken, and we replaced it. We bought it on eBay or something and brought it to her and put it in a little box and said, please, with our compliments, we're sorry that what happened. Here's your Lladró. Now, please lock up that cabinet. Treat mistakes as opportunities to correct the mistake and create great experiences. Because if you're great at your job, all sorts of good things happen. You will make more money. You will have more happiness. You will generate more happy clients. You will get more referrals. You will win more awards. All those things will happen if you're great at your job, if you deliver great experiences to people. And I'll tell you one final story, the rock salt story. This is a story about an agent in upstate New York. And what he did was he had this little magic trick that he did, little wow that he would do every year. When it would get ready for the first snow, which in upstate New York is August, maybe September, early in the year is the first snow in upstate. He would go in his truck and he would take his kid and his 14-year-old, and they would go buy rock salt, and they put it in the back of the truck, and they would drive to all of his favorite referral clients, and they would drop off a bag of rock salt with a little ribbon, with a little personal note. It was like a Buffini thing he was doing. Love Brian Buffini, awesome trainer. He was doing a little pop-by, likes the personal note, puts the ribbon on, drops it off, boom. Front door, if they're there, he gives it to them. If not, he drops it off at the front door. He does that for like 30 or 40 clients. And there's always a nice thing. He always gets a lot of nice emails back and phone calls. People love it. Oh, it's such a nice idea. So thoughtful. It's a little wow. It's a little thoughtful wow. It's an anticipatory wow. It's going to snow. Let's get you some rock salt because you probably ran out of rock salt at the end of last year or you don't remember where it is. He gets a call from a friend of his, one of his top referral clients. And the guy says, Bill, I have to tell you, I was out with my wife and we were at the doctor and she got some not so great news. And we're both sort of down because it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard. And we get in the car and we're both just feeling awful. And as we're going home, it starts to snow. And I realize that I can't even be with her because I have to drop her off and go back out and get some rock salt. And as we pull into the driveway, I see on the front door, the front stoop, there's the rock salt that you brought us. And I don't have to leave. And I just start to cry. I've told that story 100 times. I wrote about that story in my book. How many times do you think that guy has told that story? The guy who found the rock salt on his stoop. That this agent, doing something small, doing something just a little wow, became a huge wow. Why? Because the fact is, my friends, if you're always thinking about what other people need, if you're always thinking expansively about what they need, those kinds of things happen to you. It makes you a better agent, but more importantly, my friends, it makes you a better person. It makes you better at your job. It makes you better at life. It makes you better. Since I started teaching this and living this, it gets into your bones. It gets into your DNA. It changes you. You instinctively and reflexively think about what other people need and how you can service those needs. And it's not just in business you do it. It's made me a better husband. It's made me a better father. It's made me a better citizen, a better friend, a better brother, a better son, a better person. And that's what I wish for all of you. Yes, I want you to be great in your business. And one of the ways to be great in your business is to deliver unbelievable experiences for your clients. But it's not just about that. It's about helping you become better and happier as a person. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you'd like to have a little bit more, you want to read that story about the rock salt, you want to find out more about this philosophy, if you just go to joerand.com/free, you can get a free ebook download of my most recent book, How to Be a Great Real Estate Agent, courtesy of Howard Hanna Company. So I thank them for providing it to all of you. I thank you for watching. Please, joerand.com/free, get yourself a free copy of the book. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Wasn't that amazing? Wasn't that amazing? And Joe, thank you. Not only is it great to have you speak for the whole group today and share your wisdom, but wanted to let you know that one of the advantages is as we grow, as we have new partnerships and merge with new people, it's not only marketing and it's not only technology, but it's great minds like Joe Rand now being part of your company across the whole footprint, being there to help with our education, help with our motivation, and being able to speak to everybody. And now we can see one part of why the Rand family is so wonderful. And the Rand agents, as you connect with them, they'll definitely tell you great stories about Joe, Matt, Danny, the whole family, and Marcia, and learn more. So, Joe, thank you. And your message was on target. It's funny, every morning I get up and I look sort of to motivate myself. I get a little motivational quote that's sent to me. And one of them that was embedded in that message today, embedded in that customer service, that wow, was my quote this morning that comes to my phone was change before you have to. And it was a Jack Welch quote from GE. And change before you have to, which means whether it's change your service level, add a little extra, make that rock salt story your story somewhere, or just even if we have to change like Netflix has changed and through this pandemic come out with better use of all the tools and programs that we have, the value proposition that's offered to everybody. Throughout the entire organization. Please take advantage of it and take advantage of the education in weeks to come. It was Joe, you probably saw the comments, but there's some great comments that I just want to share that are out there. So much energy and information from Tessa Carroll. I could listen for hours from Sonia Halstead. Joe is a super great speaker from Joseph Klein. Great presentation, Margaret Dobbs. And just incredible quotes from many, many people. Even they're running you for president now, Joe, a couple people, but that's out of Lakewood, Ohio. So they're trying to run anybody for president. So anyhow, don't forget you can get the book. The book's a gift that you go to joerand.com/free. And then you click on the book that you want to choose. Joe's other book is Disruptors, Discounters, and Doubters, written a few years ago. When you look at the world that we're in today, and so many people coming in to try to think they're discounting our fee, disrupting our business, I'd suggest you get that book too. You read it. It's one of the best real estate books I've read that really shows that you, the real estate agent, the employee, the mortgage originator, the title professional, the property manager, the commercial broker, all the disruption that wants to come out there, you make the difference in the service you provide, in creating the wow, in being a green or red penguin. So don't be afraid to get that book too if you'd like, and you come away with a message. So finally, this has been a great day. I appreciate everybody putting up with some of the technical difficulties that we had with Zoom. I will say this, you can watch this whole presentation in its entirety. We'll also splice it out that you can watch bits and pieces. If you missed any of it, this afternoon, Kate Lesor will send out a link to where you can find it. I've even suggested that we could air it in its entirety like a recorded TV show somewhere between 4 and 6, and then you could decide to Zoom me later for a cocktail because, quite honestly, this has been enough stress this morning on making all the technical stuff work. So again, we wish we could be with all of you, the whole Hanna family, every member of our leadership, the Rand family, Pat Riley, the Tate family. Thank you to everybody who put effort in today. Thank you for everybody who's worked so hard for the last year to make 2020 so special. And let's finish that fourth quarter strong. Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.